I'm Donna.
And I'm Bruce, and this is Lyrical Wisdom.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Lyrical Wisdom, where we dive into song lyrics and offer heart-based wisdom through our interpretations. If you enjoy what you're hearing, don't forget you can catch every episode of Lyrical Wisdom on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more.
You can also find us on YouTube. Just search Lyrical Wisdom Show. Do you have a song you'd like to hear us shed some light on? You can email us requests, questions, comments to lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. That's lyricalwisdomshow@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on a YouTube video. We'd really love to hear from you, and all requests get an episode and a shout out.
So join us every Tuesday and Friday as we dig deep and deliver our wisdom. And thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing to
Lyrical Wisdom.
Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Donna. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. I am. Today is one of those days, Bruce, where I really do think about you and your beautiful way of seeing the world as another day in paradise.
Thank you.
Especially on a day like where I am, it's dreary and it's rainy. And it's really, really dark outside.
Yes.
And you really have to think about that change of reality in a moment's time when you can think about, wow, I am in paradise. It might be raining a little bit and the sun isn't shining, but guess what?
Yes.
Your heart, your body, your being all of the sudden just springs into action,
It does.
I feel like I could just, dance in the kitchen.
That's a wonderful way to put it. And yes, I do feel like that some days. And I thank my dad for that, for just saying, just another day in paradise, and being able to steal that from him. But with a lot of love, I do feel that moment too, because sometimes when it is so dark and kind of dreary outside, you feel that energy inside and you want it to kind of grow. You want it to bloom. You want it to have a chance to kind of evolve, because you're looking outside and maybe it's raining. Maybe it's just kind of challengingly cold, but we're thinking, hey, we want to burst with our human. We want to get that thing out there and just kind of be out into the world and make it something, because it's hard to just feel contained indoors. And that's that weird, that funny, I feel like that. I feel like it's like, okay, well, you know what, I'm going to let this burst inside because I have to, I'm not going to just hold it in because I feel like I'm only, just because I'm inside, so, I think that's a wonderful way to start the day, like celebrate our own inner human and let it bloom,
And let it be whatever it feels the most joy doing, whether it is baking, cleaning, dancing.
Whatever it is, dancing in the kitchen, singing your song.
Feel
Go
the
for
joy.
it, because feel that joy, because we need to notice that, it's kind of something that we forget when those days come along, or that feeling comes along that kind of makes you, feel like you're not going with the flow that day, or something just doesn't ring true. There isn't harmony. There's, maybe some dissonance, maybe there's something, but it just, it's hard to remember sometimes, but, grab that memory and plug it back in, and I feel like it'll bring you back, just get back in touch, and take a moment.
Wow. I agree 100%. And you know what? I think the world agrees too. How about you all? I just saw the two birds. It was like perfect where they flew right by my window, as if to say, yes, here we are, in your paradise that you're staring at.
Oh, wow. That's so
It just,
beautiful.
yeah. So welcome each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Lyrical Wisdom. We hope that you too are enjoying your day in paradise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And and I hope that we all know how to find us out there. If you have a friend you want to recommend our show to and you know where to look, we're on all kinds of different listening platforms. We have a song list that's going to be coming up, our playlist, Lyrical Wisdom songs on Spotify, I believe, correct?
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
can't
And so
wait. Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
wait either. And
It
so
may
we,
already be out there. So, hey, check it out. Just go to
yeah,
Spotify and search Lyrical Wisdom Songs.
absolutely.
See if you can
And
find us.
and let us know, let us
Yeah,
know. I'm
definitely.
I'm
Definitely.
I'm really excited about today's song. We have, I think, something that is cool that we have set up
I do
today,
too,
and
Bruce. I do too, because it brings back a joy and a memory I have of you. And I think a lot of people, and I'm going to probably give away some of it, all of it, I don't know, but just there's something about dancing. It is movement from the physical body that can really express one's true feelings when they really take time to dance with intention.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a very eloquent way to say it, very concise, because there's so many different aspects of dancing that come together. And when that all resonates into what the output becomes, it becomes something that is, it's difficult to not feel when you're watching it because you're you're feeling the energy coming from the dancer to you and from you back to the dancer. There's a symbiotic and exchange, excuse me, there's a symbiotic connection and then there's an exchange of energy. And so it is an incredible feeling. And I believe that too. And so that I do really resonate with how you put that down. That was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And so I guess should we just tell
Yes,
them what the
let's
song is?
do
Okay,
this,
cool. Let's do
Bruce.
this. Well, we are going to be reading a song called Human by The Killers. I did my best to notice when the call came down the line up to the platform of surrender. I was brought, but I was kind. And sometimes I get nervous when I see an open door. Close your eyes, clear your heart, cut the cord. Are we human or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human or are we dancer? Pay my respects to the grace and virtue. Send my condolences to good. Give my regards to soul and romance. They always did the best they could. And so long to devotion. You taught me everything I know. Wave goodbye. Wish me well. You've got to let me go. Are we human or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human or are we dancer? Will your system be all right when you dream of home tonight? There is no message we are receiving. Let me know, is your heart still beating? Are we human or are we dancer? My sign is vital and my hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. You've got to let me know. Are we human or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human or are we dancer? Are we human or are we dancer?
This is a very deep song. I
Yeah.
yeah, what you spoke into right before we delivered this song to you all, um, Bruce, I think really, really sets the tone for the message people are going to be receiving today. You know, that a dancer has a relationship, whether it is with the music that it is dancing to, the dancer, because it is a he or a she,
Yes.
or a partner, because a lot of dances have a partner aspect to it. And I
Yes.
believe that is what this song is asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
That's,
we are we human or are we dancer?
yeah.
And I think the key to really understanding is kind of who are you in relationship to? What is who is your partner
Yeah.
if you are a dancer?
Yeah.
Or are
Well,
you human?
yeah. Well, and I think that the two intertwine for
Yes.
an artist and for all of us. It's sometimes I think of working on inner child work and working on things that people work on in different aspects that they discover ways to find their inner dancer. They find their way to connect with their inner artist or inner ability to express certain things and connect in certain ways. And I think that's a beautiful thing because I think it all too often is a little bit maybe suppressed in different ways because of different ideas of, maybe I shouldn't do that or maybe I should, it just, I think that, people kind of embrace it a little bit more as they kind of look at things and they go, aha, I can dance in my kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can feel good when I wake up and feel like I'm having another day in paradise and dance in the kitchen and be a dancer and choreograph my own moves that, doesn't have to be something that I perform for some amount of people. It just can be for my own inner joy. And that part of it, I think, truly does exist. Um, but I think we also could discuss maybe other aspects of that. But
Well,
when this song, sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say, let's see where the song takes it.
Yeah.
You know, what
Yeah.
are they speaking into? Because it
Yes.
starts off very interesting. I don't know what other words to use. I did my
No, I
best to
agree.
notice when the call came down the line.
Very interesting way of starting the song to say that something was kind of happening that I'm noticing outside of myself. Like it's not related to me. It doesn't have anything necessarily, like here's this moment when I'm just kind of noticing something. Call came down the line, totally kind of benign, if you will, not trying to intentionally rhyme there, but I'm just saying, so I feel like, it
Well,
kind of seems a little, until we can get farther into the song, I feel like it seems like we don't really know what that means. It could mean anything.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, what call? What line?
Yeah. Like, how does this,
I do
who,
know.
what, where?
Yeah. Yeah, there is this saying about the call coming down the line. And it usually means that there's something that you are aware of and you're just kind of sitting and waiting for that call, because the call that comes down the line, in my understanding, is that it's a call you've been expecting and it
Yes.
has moved through all of the stages that it needs to in order to be received by you.
Yes. And or received in the way that you can be there to
You're
witness.
ready to receive it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then that's when we understand what that call is referring to in the next line, because it says, up to the platform of surrender, I was brought, but I was kind. And, I feel like that's kind of okay. Now we understand this call that came down the line is referring to the entity that is noticing. I did my best to notice, and it has some sort of relationship with this entity. It has a partnership with this entity. And that's how it would notice when that call came down to the line, down this line of process, and
Hmm.
then we have, I was brought, but I was kind, to the platform of surrender. And so I'm thinking that has to have some sort of relationship there, obviously, right?
Yes. You know what, Bruce? I formed a picture in my mind, and I think it will help all of us kind of understand where I went with it, because up to the platform of surrender, this is a very harsh platform, because a lot of people, they don't want to surrender no matter what it is. I was
Yeah.
brought there. So I was
Hmm.
brought, meaning it wasn't of my own doing. I
Or
didn't
choosing.
step up there of my own free will. I was
Yeah.
brought there up to the
Yeah.
platform of surrender. And I see this child being put down in its crib for a nap. You
I love it.
no, screaming and wailing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't
Yeah.
want to go to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
Because, I mean, yes, that moment of having to give in, to surrender, this person who was writing this song, however, was kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when mommy put him in the crib to go to bed, he
Hmm.
just looked up at her and maybe made a pouty face. To me, that's the vision I saw, was rather than screaming and hollering and, having a fit,
Yeah.
he was kind.
I love that. I love that. Well, and because, that's the part where I feel like that is where there's a moment where it could seem like it could be scary, because the platform of surrender is
Hmm.
before I was brought, but I was kind.
Yeah.
So you kind of get this weird kind of prickly feeling, like it's kind of like, well, what does that really mean? And so, it kind of hits you in that way. And I think then it says, I was brought, but I was kind. And I love that, because then that takes a little bit of that edge off, you know, and then it goes into, when I see an open door, close your eyes, clear your heart, cut the cord. And that's where I feel like it kind of, goes into that kind of, and sometimes I get nervous moment. It's like it gives you something to begin with, and then it follows up with something to kind of give that a little bit more context and a little bit more fulsome kind of things, adjectives and descriptions to go with what that statement is. And I feel like I'm noticing that now, up to the platform of surrender, I was broad, but I was kind. It's like it gives you that thing right at that beginning portion. Then it gives you something to go with that, like to plug in there. And then it does the same thing, And sometimes I get nervous when I see an open door, kind of like, what am I getting in for? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
am I ready to
Yes,
step through
exactly.
that and to move
Yes.
into that? And then
Yeah.
it's like, no, got to close your eyes, clear your heart, let it go. And I say let it
Cut
go, not to
the
add it. Yeah.
cord.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That to me is so powerful. That one line, cut the cord,
Yes.
because of what's behind it. I mean, everyone knows that there is I mean, cutting the cord, it's like when you go to a cord cutting ceremony, it normally represents that something big is about to begin. In other words, they're cutting the cord because they're breaking ground on building a new building. They're cutting the cord because they're opening the building. The red ribbon when the mayor gets the big scissors out and cuts the cord. But then
Yeah.
there is the aspect of birth, that open door is huge.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when you are born, you have to cut the cord. You know, it's like,
Literally.
yes, yes. I mean, to me, that cord is all of life coming into you, you know,
Absolutely.
and cutting that cord, just the symbolism of that. And if you're on a telephone back in the day, Bruce, I think maybe you might remember when all of our phones were connected to a cord. We had
I
cords
definitely
on our
do.
phone.
Well, I
And
can I can speak
yeah,
to that because I was so excited back in the day when I was in high school. And I hesitate to say that, but back in the day when I was in high school, I was so excited to get a corded phone in my room. I
yeah.
was like, I felt like I was a king. Like, oh my gosh, I have a phone in my room. I can call my friends from my bedroom. I thought I was, but
Ours was in the hallway, Bruce, but we bought the extra long cord that would get all curled up on itself, but you could pull it all the way into your bedroom and shut the door. And the thought of that cord being cut or broken, you know what I'm saying? Is like,
cordless phones. Yeah.
oh my God, all my communication is lost. You know, when
Yeah.
when when you are connected to that cord, the
Yeah.
thought of it being cut is very, very scary, very deep,
Oh my
very
gosh.
powerful.
Well, that is, well, and
So
yeah,
on the one hand, we have time to rejoice by cutting the cord. And the
yes.
other time it's like, oh, do I really want to do this?
Do I want to let go? Yeah.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
willing to let go?
Which brings us to the question, are we
Yeah.
human?
Or are we dancer? Yeah. And the best part of that question is kind of, I think, how we were discussing it before we came into doing the show today. We were asking those questions, and as a dancer, um, I guess we could all decide what is the definition of dancer for us, because I think that's the coolest part of, I think, these lyrics is that they give you that opportunity. I think when we think of human, that's another one. We have so many different examples of what we think of human as, and so I think that's you know another one. But as the dancer is specifically, we're going to speak to a few ideas I know, but I think that really resonates with me. I didn't necessarily feel like I came to that as a conclusion when we were talking about it before, Donna, but that just kind of came to me here. Excuse me. So
Right, right. Especially with this chord aspect, because
yeah,
what we were discussing was the fact that a dancer, like you said, has a symbiotic relationship. In
Yes.
other words, the dance is choreographed. You
Yes.
know, someone else told you how to dance. Or there's music that begins to move you, that, you know, kind of takes control over your body and just makes you dance.
Yeah.
Those of
Yeah.
you who love to go dancing know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Right?
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
it if you would send us just maybe tell us what your favorite song to dance to is, or what kind of
Absolutely.
music do you like to dance to? What
And
moves your body without
what
you
moves your
even
body?
thinking about it? You know, all of a sudden you're like just moving your body and you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's
Yeah.
dancing, you know,
Yeah.
when something else that, you know, sometimes we can't name what it is. It could just be that feeling that we were speaking about this morning, the
Yeah.
joy, the thought of being in paradise
Yeah.
and jumping for joy, you know, in a little dance.
Yeah.
There is, I believe, something that moves the dance, whether it is from a state of just pure joy, you know, something you didn't even have control over, or something you do have control over, such as,
Absolutely.
you know, a choreographer, a partner, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's that's what the question is.
Well, and that's a part of even what, is happening as we speak in its own way with the Olympics coming along and things happening for different performers, especially ice skaters. I think that you know the symbiotic relationship that a skater or a performer, a dancer on a stage has with the audience that is watching them is so palpable, and you feel it in a way that that's something that I feel like if you can harness that as the performer, skater, dancer, whichever, and in this case dancer, it can be completely either overwhelming but it can also be a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful thing that just becomes such a connection that everything coming together can become that relationship as well. And so, yes, it's just funny how, we have this kind of, which is it? Do we talk about the dancer being choreographed as like being the puppet on the stage, or something that is kind of the guinea pig, if you will, like we're just kind of up there as an example of somebody else's expression, somebody else's kind of performance idea. We're performing kind of vicariously through that. And I think that's where it can be defined as whatever you would like, really whatever it resonates with you. Do you feel like it is your dance, the one that you did maybe when you were drinking that first sip of delicious coffee that you made? Or when you just woke up and saw the sun there and stretched a little bit, or maybe you did like a little shimmy in your bed before you got out of bed. And it's like, that's my little dance, rock on, that's why, that's why I feel like, we have that opportunity to kind of define this as what we want it to be, because, that is a part of human, I think, too, to
Oh,
be
I
fair.
do too. I do too, Bruce. And for me, I'm I am trying to understand the song more, because they go on to say my sign is vital.
Hmm.
My hands are cold, because I believe we cannot be a dancer without being human,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, we can't be human without being a dancer,
Yeah.
because
I
it
think they,
is my truth that um, we all have that we're talking about, that divinity, that divine source, that love, that God within us that moves us, that
yeah.
that that to me is that bubbling up of joy, that, you know, that little twinge in, that you feel when you're listening to a song that makes you dance? What, is it the song or is it you, hearing the song? So I think that I just think we're both. And this is what is cool because my sign is vital, my hands are cold, and I'm on my knees looking for the answer.
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah. It's,
human or
yeah.
are we dancer?
Yeah. It's a nod in the direction towards, kind of the idea that, hey, we kind of are at a, not, I don't want to say a precipice, but we're at a place where we can make this decision, you know, and I can kind of, I think that we're both on the same page, Donna, because, we are trying to kind of decipher, well, my sign is vital. Yes, that is a very, very good feeling. Nowadays, I feel like we're all kind of making that kind of comment, and all of our signs are so vital these days, and we are so alive. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like that's a very human way to think of that. And I also think that, we also have my hands are cold. And I think that's just because, in a lot of ways, maybe we can think of that as they are exposed,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I was
because,
thinking that, or I don't have a partner to hold my hand.
yeah.
I'm
And
like, huh,
well, and they could be exposed in that moment where we have, my hands are cold and I'm on my knees looking for the answer. And so we could think of that as in a moment of prayer or kind of prostrate, you know, on the in the moment. And then that is why the hands can be cold, just trying to
right,
reach out and trying to find that answer, on our knees. And there is the question again, are we human or are we dancer? And that's,
right.
I think it has to be both. But I do think that's how it's kind of guiding us to this question.
Well, and we have to remember we're on the platform of surrender.
This is true.
So
Yes.
that, yes, I mean, that's why he's on his knees and his hands are cold. I mean, there's some fear in there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Very
so
exposed.
pay my respects to grace and virtue. Send my condolences to good.
like like I'm basically saying goodbye,
Yes. Yes. It's,
and
in
I
other
think
words,
that's a
I'm
very,
about to have a total breakdown.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
going to be graceful. I may even start screaming and hollering and whining. No, I don't want to take a nap.
Yes. Yeah.
I see the
Because
baby wailing again, the
yeah, we
child
are,
just having a temper tantrum.
yeah, we are going to go past that moment. And
Yeah.
here it comes. Yeah. And give my regards to soul and romance. They always did the best they could. It's, I think I do kind of like the injection of humor there,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to lie. I think that is kind of a clever way to say the same thing that we are saying. Okay, yeah, pay my respects to grace and virtue, send my condolences to good. That's pretty strong, pretty clear. And then you go from there to give my regards to soul and romance. They always did the best they could. It kind of gives it a little more flavor in there.
Yeah.
But I also think it's just kind of sprinkling that onto what has already been said, you know,
I've
and
tried this.
I
Yeah.
have,
Yeah. Yeah.
and really I've tried this, I've tried that. This stuff hasn't worked for me. And I know that those ideas, they did the best they could because they still stand. That's still there. It's not like they're not they're not there. They just didn't work for me. And so,
Right.
it's like and so long to devotion, you taught me everything I know. And I think that that's another part where, that's another kind of hint at, okay, I've even tried that thing. If
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're thinking about coming at me with here, like I've told you everything I've tried, and no, you haven't tried this one. Well, and so long to devotion, like that can encapsulate a lot of different things, you know.
Oh, yeah, because just the word devotion is very deep in that it overtakes, I believe, the when you devote yourself to something, someone, whatever, it's that whatever it is becomes the focus, and you lose
Yes.
yourself to
Yeah.
me in a
Yeah.
state of devotion.
Yeah.
Whereas surrender, I believe you find yourself.
Yes. Yes. You really, I couldn't agree with you more. It's like that, so long to devotion. Well, that's what you surrender yourself to in a lot of ways. You kind of devote yourself that way. And so it kind of has that interesting kind of departure. And I like that, because it is pretty strong. Um, you taught me everything I know is also like the other points in these lyrics. It gives you a little bit of something strong, and then it comes back with a little bit more context, a little more flavor in there. And then wave goodbye, wish me well, you've got to let me go. And and I think that that is the part where, to me, that's kind of not necessarily like saying, well, devotion and, soul and romance and good and grace and virtue, these things are not hanging on to somebody or an entity. The entity is hanging on to these things. And
Yes,
they're just saying that to
bingo.
themselves, like, you've got
Right.
to let me go. It's like, no, you have to let those things go. It's kind of the reverse
Hmm.
of this. And so that's the part where I like the fact that then it goes into the question again, because I'm suddenly realizing this is kind of a little bit of a pattern here.
Yeah. 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 For me, yes, Bruce, you've got to let me go. In other words, I am now realizing that devotion and giving myself to something or someone else, soul, love, romance, whatever, it didn't work for me. Um, and I think it's maybe talking to the self that
Yeah.
is that inner child that doesn't want to take the nap.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. It's the
You know?
stubborn.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, that part of self that is codependent upon something outside of itself.
Yeah.
And it could be I mean, literally, it could be another person. Someone could
It
have
could
been
be.
so devoted to someone or something else. And
Yeah.
now they've realized that they lost who they were in that
Yeah.
process. And
Oh boy,
so
howdy.
you've
Yeah.
got to let me go. Are we
Yeah.
human or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold. And I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human or are we dancer?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's reminding us, I believe, of the process that we
Yeah.
began with because
Yeah.
the call came down the line.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yes, it
and
did.
we're on the platform of surrender.
We're on our
And
knees. Yeah.
yes, looking for the answer. Are we
Yeah.
human or are we dancer? That
Yeah.
is a, I mean, those of you listening today, that's a beautiful question to ponder for yourself. Are you human or are you dancer?
And and um we have a couple of different takes on this, and but I would, before I get into that, I want to add that in after we've kind of go through these last few lines, just because we're like almost to the finish of this actual song. Um, will your system be all right when you dream of home tonight? And when I was reading this and I read those lyrics, I I really, it really resonated with me. But I wanted to ask you, Donna, what you think of these next like lines here, because I feel like there's one part of this that almost tries to tie back to another song that we might have done, or one that is very familiar to a lot of people.
Hmm. I know that for me, I consider home wherever the heart is.
Yeah,
And so, will your system be all right? I know without a doubt, this is my truth, that they're
Yeah,
speaking of the body.
they are.
Will
They are.
your system, will your physical body be all right
Yeah,
when you dream of home tonight? In other words, when you finally shut down and crawl in your bed and just be in your heart, are you going to be okay? Will you be all right in that silent place of surrender?
absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. And the next line is the one that if any of you guys out there find that one familiar, please let us know. I'd love to hear your take on what you think that reminds you of out there. But this line, there is no message we are receiving. Very familiar, kind of similar to other songs we may have heard. And let me know, is your heart still beating? And that part of it, is I think I think that's that kind of moment where we're kind of acknowledging a bit of a disconnect, you know,
Hmm.
and in some ways, um, because will your system be all right when you dream of home tonight and there is no message we are receiving? Let me know, is your heart still beating? Like, letting it go completely, it's going to disconnect completely.
Hmm.
And I just think that there's that moment where I think it's like I need to breathe. I need to kind of feel like I'm okay. I just took this step. I just did this thing.
Yeah.
Am I going to be all right?
In other words, there's no message we're receiving. In that moment when the cord gets cut from the infant, that infant is now breathing on its own. Its system is completely on its own.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
more messages, no more information, no more blood, no more nutrients being fed to that system.
No,
It
absolutely.
is completely on its own.
Yeah. And, and that's the thing is that is that moment of having to, I mean, we don't think about it. I don't think I have thought about it in regards to how complex and how beautiful that moment is necessarily as much as I am right now. Because when you have to cut the cord, take your first breath, that's a profound moment. I mean, you're
Hmm.
basically going from being an amphibian to, well, basically, yeah, you just became amphibian. You were breathing water and now you're, breathing air.
Hmm.
And so it's a profound moment. And I think that, that's why these things can be so tricky in that way is that letting go and cutting the cord in whatever way it is, it's always going to have that reference to that very dramatic moment. It's always going to
Right,
have that kind of sense of, giving up something that has been so comfortable and so nurturing,
right, right.
you know?
And even something as simple, Bruce, as being, well, nowadays we don't have cords attached to our phones. We
Yeah.
have invisible lines of information coming through what is known as Wi-Fi, cellular data lines that are just in the air, airwaves. However, they get cut sometimes. So
Yeah.
now instead
Yeah.
of saying, we got dropped,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of cutting the cord, it gets
Or
your conversation gets dropped.
we've
Well,
been disconnected.
yes, in
Yeah.
that moment, you're not receiving anything. There is all your messages, all what you were seeking in that instant of being dropped is gone. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that one, is your heart still beating? In other
Yeah.
words, the world doesn't really end in that moment.
No.
There's always a new beginning. And that
Yeah.
is what I believe they're trying to say when they say, are we human or are we dancer?
Yeah.
In other
Yeah.
words, yeah, okay. You're in the sound of silence. Where do you go from here?
Yeah.
Do you stay in that place of, I got dropped again? I'm so tired of my phone not working, and you go into this place of discord and anger, or do you, oh, okay, let me just move on a little bit because I'll be
Yeah.
reconnected.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there. I believe life is a dance,
It
and
is.
we can make a choice each and every moment of how to live our life. We can be human and we can be a dancer because our signs are vital even when our hands are cold
Yeah.
and we fall on our knees looking for answers.
Yeah.
You've got to let me know. The change there is still that little doubt shining through. First,
Yeah.
it's you've got to let me
Yeah.
go. Now it's you've got to let me know.
Yeah.
Where are we going from here? Are
Yeah.
you still
Together.
with me? I
Yeah.
it's to me it's kind of getting to that, people call it rock bottom,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you get to that place where you feel like you are all alone,
Yes.
and then it's you realize you're not. You never are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's no joke. It's a a moment when you suddenly feel like that conversation, which we've been discussing and having its own way to the self, it takes a different turn here at the very end, where it's very much a plea to which way is this going to go. We're at this point where this is a critical moment, and yeah, it's right at the very end of the song, which is really remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they ask and we ask. We ask each and every one of you, reach out, let us know. Are we human or are we dancer? Our signs are vital. And well, I'm sitting on my hands right now, so they're not cold.
Yeah, no, mine are warm too, I'm afraid.
Yeah. And when you fall on your knees and you're looking for that help, for that, support, think about it. Are you human or are you dancer? Are you human or are you dancer?
Yeah,
You can dance your life away.
you
And
can.
yes, yes, with some people even call it, Bruce, I believe, the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
let it flow.
Let it flow. Yeah,
Yep.
because it's all happening right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Isn't life beautiful?
It is.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
always a day in paradise. I love it. I thought this was a beautiful day, Bruce.
Me too.
I really enjoyed doing this with you. Thank you.
Well,
And
thank
of
you.
course, we could not have done it without each and every one of you. You were dancing with us today. And thank you so, so much for being here with us on
Lyrical
Wisdom.